next guest ready to come on and share a seriously compelling story. We had her on Bad Crypto here just a couple months ago, and her name is Cherie Aimee. She's a transformational leader, humanitarian, writer, and global speaker, exploring the intersection between advanced technology and humanity. She's an advisor to the World Ethical Data Forum and ambassador to New York Presbyterian Hospital and Columbia University Medical. She attained worldwide attention for making a miraculous recovery from a near-death experience in which doctors could not resuscitate her for over 90 minutes. Yes, you heard me right, an hour and a half of no activity, pretty much dead. But she's back, and we have the proof because she's here with us today. Cherie Aimee, welcome.
Hello, how are you, Joel?
Good to see you.
You too. Where's Travis? Is he around? There he is.
I'm not around. I don't know where he is. He's probably slacking off.
He's sleeping.
Yeah, taking a nap. I got. Good to have you. Thank you for agreeing to be part of this virtual shindig.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm honored to be alongside so many amazing people on blockchain. This has been a fantastic event, and kudos to you guys for doing this to help raise money for COVID-19. This is absolutely amazing, and you guys put this together so quickly. And it's just, I'm so impressed with the level of detail and professionalism, really.
Well,
great job.
We appreciate that. And we're into shindiggery. That's, that's part of our thing. Now we know your story because we've gone into it in depth on the show, but why don't you go ahead and give a quick overview of exactly what you experienced?
Yeah, so talking about my near-death experience,
well, it's so compelling, it's so amazing. I mean, this is not the type of story you hear every day.
Yeah, so this kind of leads up into how I got involved with blockchain. But so I was a tech founder 10 years ago, and everything was going well. I had a lot of clients. I had about 20 people working for me, and I ended up flatlining out of the blue one day, cardiac arrest. And
no warning signs? Like it just came on?
It came on pretty much within like 3 weeks. So I had trouble breathing for about 3 weeks, but I kind of looked fine and I looked healthy. So it just went over everyone's head. Like nobody caught that my heart was failing. So yeah, so it's really, it was a life-shattering event. So I basically crashed. Thankfully, I was in the emergency room. Doctors were literally unable to resuscitate me for over 90 minutes. They never got my heart to restart. And so thankfully, though, by a miracle, I was taken down to New York Presbyterian Hospital in New York City, where I underwent several open heart surgeries, life support for about 3 months, and ended up spending 5 years after that on a bionic heart. And 5 years ago today, I received a heart transplant. So that's the condensed, crazy.
Happy anniversary.
Yes, thank you. Do you know I missed it this year? I mean, every year I celebrate, and this year is my 5-year. And
celebrate with you.
Thank you.
There's thousands of people rooting you on right now.
Woohoo! So here I am. I spent the last 5 years pretty much just rebuilding a life for myself, reinventing myself. And I had lost my tech firm just in the whole drama of it all, and spent many years in rehabilitation. And so when I came back, I was still pretty disabled. So I just kind of learned about the latest in, tech apps and all this stuff, and created a brand online for myself that grew pretty quickly. And I've just since been able to do so many things with my platform, with my voice. And one of the things I've been able to do is just bring value to blockchain and to all of you guys, and really kind of use my voice more in the I'm not a programmer anymore, but I tend to use my voice now for the storytelling, bringing on more of that humanitarian element to it, so that more people, more of the masses, can actually understand just kind of what's going on, because a lot of people see and they hear about blockchain, they hear about cryptocurrency, but it can be very, very overwhelming. I mean, especially when you're new to it, it's extremely overwhelming. And it was for me too, even though I'd come from a tech background. Like for me, this was completely something new. I was never a day trader. I was never really into stocks or any of that stuff. So I really needed to kind of use a different part of my brain to absorb and really be able to visualize more of the complex technical elements of it. And that was just done through lots and lots of reading and watching events, similar to this, although nothing of this caliber, but it really was about staying up late. Sometimes I would watch some of these summits that were taking place in maybe Taiwan, and here I am in the US, and I would stay up till like 4 a.m. just listening and taking notes and learning. And it's funny because after about 6 months or so of doing that every day, you start to realize, hey, I think I know a little bit more than your average person by now. And so that just kind of, I think that mixed with my brand that had already been building just kind of led me into blockchain. And here I was, I found myself back in the tech world after, this incredible health crisis that I had. And I don't know, it felt so good, I mean, I don't know how else to explain it other than, when you have like a life-altering event like that, such as a pandemic, but to have, your whole life stripped from you overnight, and to lose your business, to lose the career that you had like your whole life, that did something to me, and I think kind of coming back into technology and meeting all the incredible people in blockchain and the enthusiasm, right? Like, it describes everyone in blockchain and crypto is that we're really passionate about the topic. We're passionate about what the technology can do, and we're passionate about changing the world, right? Mm. So for me, it kind of was a nice re-entry back into the tech space, but it took me a while to really figure out where I could best bring value. So for a while there, I was behind the scenes of a blockchain startup for supply chain logistics. And there I learned a lot about supply chains and how that all works and the logistics of it, some of the issues that they currently have in, tracking and tracing goods that are shipped all over the world from China to the US. We're kind of getting a glimpse of that right now with the shortage in personal protective equipment, PPE, and the masks, right? So people are starting to understand. Maybe you didn't understand about supply chain before the pandemic, but the pandemic is really shining a light on parts of society, our financial sector, technology, and supply chain, and where those weaknesses are. And one of the benefits of blockchain that I grew to learn was that blockchain can be a really essential resource and source of security, being able to track shipments, being able to hold companies accountable for either missing goods along the way, or even middlemen that are marking up those in-between fees as you're going from like shipper to shipper or supplier to shipper. So there's so many benefits alone in blockchain. And then I started learning about how it's really also allowing more people access to banking, even in developing countries. And so that really, really sparked my attention as well.
I have a
So,
question for you, Cherie.
yeah,
What, you talk about now it's all about storytelling for
yeah.
you, right? Who is your, ideal avatar? Who are you really looking to speak to bring blockchain to the world?
I could tell you I've spoken to top level uh, CEOs, C-suite, definitely executive leadership. So I've spoken all over the world, thankfully. So I've got that experience, but I also can speak to like your average person that really doesn't know anything about technology and really can't wrap their brain around blockchain. So I think one of the benefits for me, and I've kind of always had that skill set where I understand technology more than I sound like someone that is like a programmer, and I've always been like that my whole life. It's same with languages. Like I can pick up a language very quick, and I can understand, but I may not be able to like respond, unless I'm really, really studying the exact terminology. And so I think when I was, kind of younger, adulthood, building my own tech company and just being a programmer in the field, I thought it was like a fault of mine that I didn't really walk around sounding, very, very technical, yet I was always one of the top programmers on the team and only female. But I think I've grown to realize that that's a skill that I have, is that I can listen and learn to really complex ideas in science, medicine, and technology. But then once I've learned it, I can disseminate that information out through storytelling, through, facts that people can grasp and not lose you in the technical lingo. So I'm probably more, I love being that role, kind of like that in-between role where I get to be, on media outlets, and I get to write articles and really share the storytelling and the human element behind it all.
That's beautiful. And I think that's a great segue for, let's talk about the spiritual element, right? Because so you were on the other side for like what, 90 minutes. You could not be resuscitated.
Yeah.
So my grandfather, he had passed away, and he had a past life kind of a deal, and then he came back, and then he was like, he was adamant about, man, it was completely dark. I didn't see anything, so he was very frightened of death. And I know that whenever we had a conversation, and then there's other people that's had different experiences and different sort of perspectives on what that is like. So in that 90 minutes, when you were not physically alive, according to medicine, what were you experiencing? And did you experience any sort of thing that just made you go, wow, this is a definitive yes, there is this on the other side?
Yeah, I mean, I clearly had a near-death experience, and that's one of the aspects that helped me grow my brand is I had a very unusual near-death experience. Number one, it was due to cardiac arrest. So there was medical records indicating, that I was clinically dead, no heartbeat, for many hours. So that's number one. And number two, I had all these signature signs of a near-death experience. So a near-death experience is usually determined by like 5 main elements. I forget, forgive me, I forget all of them, but one of them is like, you saw the light. The next one is like you had a life review. Another one is like you made a decision whether or not you wanted to come back. So I definitely had all of those. But what was most mind-blowing about the experience was there were a couple key things that stand out in my journey to the afterlife, whatever you want to call it. And that's that. Number one, I remember the minute I crossed over. So I literally remember almost as if I was just thrown into like another room, and I instantly knew I had died. And I just remember thinking, like, the first words in my head were, wow, that was so easy, because my whole life, And for many people, like, we're terrified of death. We're terrified of the unknown, right? Very similar to the air right now with the pandemic. It's like this fear of uncertainty, this fear of, am I going to die? Right? Like, that's such a deep fear for so many people. And what I learned in crossing over was I wasn't alone. I mean, I immediately was greeted by what I call my guides. They had surrounded me. They had protected me from the moment I crossed over. So, like, now I absolutely know that anybody who crosses over, they are not alone. Like, we are not alone. And the other thing is that I consciously remember just feeling like the weight of all my burdens just lifted off my shoulders. And so I remember initially wanting to stay there, like not wanting to come back, because I felt so much love and like connection to all things. And then I remember I experienced a very, very long lifetime review. So I went through like all these different crazy lives, like other lives that my soul had lived. It was so wild, but I learned so much through that. The lessons I walked away with really helped me in, number one, making the decision at the end of my life review saying, I choose to come back. I choose to come back here and face my shadows head on and like clear them, because I knew now like there's answers to like how life was connected and why certain people had come into my life and why certain things had happened and why life was playing out the way it was. And it's so fascinating for me because I came back with this brand new, I still had all the trauma to my body, years of rehabilitation, but on the spiritual side, I came back with such like almost like a baby with brand new eyes. Everything in the world felt so vibrant, so new, such a blessing.
Wow.
Like the gratitude was overwhelming. And so I think when, even now, like when I speak and when I talk, even if it's about technology, people always say, like, it doesn't matter what you're talking about. We always feel your heart. And I really think that came from what I just witnessed. Like, we were all connected in the afterlife. We were all one, it's
kind of like an eternal blockchain, right?
yeah, exactly. Right? Yes.
Well, Cherie, on that note,
yes.
That's a really great high note to end our interview. And thank you for coming and sharing and inspiring. Where would you like people to connect with you?
You can definitely visit my website. You can go to CherieAimee.com. That's CherieAimee.com.
Fantastic.
Certainly feel the love. Thank you so much. That was great.
Thank you, guys.
Great speaking with you again.
Absolutely. And big shout out to Erin for all her work as well.
Yes, she's behind the scenes there. Thanks, Cherie.
Yes. All right.
It.
Bye, guys.
Take care.